Hello, beautiful souls. Welcome to Angels and Awakening. I'm Julie Jancius, and I want to start by reminding you that your angels are with you right now. Whether you've been asking for their guidance, healing, or hope, they've brought you here for a reason. This is a sacred space where you tune in to their messages, reconnect with your own intuition, and awaken the next chapter of your soul's purpose. And if you're feeling called to go deeper right now, whether that's through our upcoming in-person Angel Reiki School in June, the 21-day Money Miracles Challenge in May, or a personal reading with me, just know your angels are already preparing the way. I'll show you more about these beautiful opportunities later and in the show notes. But for now, open your heart, ask your angels to be with you, and let's begin. Hello, beautiful souls. Welcome back to the Angels and Awakening podcast. You are going to love today's interview. We have on author of the new book, Wild Courage, Go After What You Want and Get It. Ooh, don't you just love that title? Jenny Wood, thank you so much for being here.
Thanks for having me, Julie.
Obviously, you have to have wild courage and go after what you want and get it in order to kind of be able to write this book, I'm sure from experience. Tell everybody your story, how you got the courage to go after what you want.
It does start with a little vignette in 2011 where I'm riding the subway home from work in New York City, and about 20 feet away from me stands this really good-looking guy. Gorgeous blue eyes, thick brown wavy hair, the whole works. And even though I want to talk to him, something holds me back. What if he's a convicted felon? What if he's married? What if 100, maybe more realistically, what if 100 people stare at me on this packed subway? Well, I later came to realize that underneath those questions were fears that hold so many people back because they were the same fears that held me back so much in life. Fear of failure, fear of uncertainty, and fear of judgment of others. So I sit there and I do nothing as the train passes stop after stop after stop, and as life basically passes me by. But yet I'm still so taken by him that I make a deal with the universe. I say, if he gets off at my stop, then maybe I'll try to strike up a conversation with him. And if not, then c'est la vie. So Julie, the universe was not on my side that day. He gets off at the next stop, which is not my stop. And just as the doors are about to close, this wave of wild courage washes over me and practically pushes me out of my subway seat and off the train. And I catch up with him. I tap him on the shoulder as he's exiting the subway station. I say, "Excuse me, sorry to bother you. You're wearing gloves, so I can't tell if you're wearing a wedding ring. But in the event that you're not married, you were on my subway and I thought you were cute. Any chance I could give you my business card?" And then I wait for what feels like forever, thinking this was a terrible idea. But then eventually he takes the card. We go on a date a week later. 3 years later, we get married. We've now been married happily with 2 great kids for 11 years. So, I mean, that was the moment of wild courage that started it all for me. And then I just started applying it in other areas, life, work, friendships, moving to a new city, things like that. So it served me well. And I'm so excited for it to help others as well.
I do wonder if because everything is energy, do you think that could have been your angels pushing you to?
I mean, it's possible. And so here's where I think that there was something that happened that day that was, It felt like it was something beyond me, something outside of my control. Like it really did feel like this wave of energy that washed over me. And that said, I still had to take action. Right? Yeah. It felt like this thing that pushed me, like the angels or energy or force or higher power. And that said, I still was the one who had to choose to stand up and walk off off that train. And so I think it's the intersection of like these signals we get, these feelings we feel in our stomach, right? Whatever that source is. And then also the choices we make, because we are a product of our choices. Had I sat on the subway that day and not gotten off, then I would have had one future, but I chose, right? I had agency in what I decided to do. And then I started leveraging wild courage as a habit at work. I started setting goals and writing them down and getting on big projects. I started asking for more responsibility and started getting promoted. I ended up creating one of the largest career programs in Google's history as a side project because I just took action. And that's, I think, as important as the energy we feel. Like you have to feel that and then you have to do something about it.
Yeah. 100%. And that's what in the spiritual world we call co-creation, right? Because that intersection is like us in our freedom being able to co-create what we want with the universe.
Right. Can I add a quick aside there?
Yeah,
I'm sure you've heard this one a million times before, but someone, prays to God and says, God, please can I win the lottery? Please can I win the lottery? And every day, walks in and prays, please can I win the lottery? And then finally God answers, would you buy a lottery ticket already?
Yes, you can win the lottery. Yeah, go out and take action. Yes.
Exactly. Please co-create with me. I'm begging you.
Yes. Oh my gosh, it's so true. Well, when you were talking about why people don't take action, and you mentioned uncertainty. You mentioned what other people think that other people are going to think about that. And one of the things that I keep seeing come up for folks, especially over the last 3 to 5 years, is feeling that the market is diluted, right? Like, oh my gosh, there are so many people already in my space. There's so many people doing what I'm seeing, the vision of what I should go do. That's not a reason not to go do it.
It's not a reason not to go do it because you only have to be like 0.5% better than the average person to get noticed. And I fundamentally believe that. Here's a good example. So, I certainly saw this at Google with people who wanted to stand out and they just took action. Like here's something I talk about. A great way that you can impress your boss, no matter your industry, no matter the company size, is every Monday send what I call a Shameless Monday email. Okay, so I've got these 9 traits that I talk about in wild courage: weird, selfish, shameless, obsessed, nosy, manipulative, reckless, brutal, and bossy. And I say these traits create the bars of an invisible cage that keep you small, that keep you quiet, that keep you following versus leading. And so this wild courage is all about reclaiming these traits and using them for good, right? Not taking them too far. We can talk about that too. So I give that as context for this one tool I love called the Shameless Monday email, where you send your boss 4 bullets each Monday. 2 things you're proud of from last week, 2 things you're working on this week. It's as simple as that. And, whether you're standing out to change industries or to get a new job or to land your first date, right? Or whatever it is, no matter the context, like you don't have to be a Pulitzer Prize winner or a Nobel Prize winner to stand out. Like at Google, only 10% of people wrote that Shameless Monday email with those 4 bullets. Very simple, should take you no more than 15 minutes to write, of things they did last week, 2 things they did they want to do this week. So I share that just because, when we look at all the saturation or all the competition out there or all the ways we feel insecure, we feel imposter syndrome, like, why should I apply for that job? Or why should I, go walk up to that person and try to strike up a new friendship? That it just takes a tiny bit extra to make that first move. Just like that Shameless Monday email that 90% of people who reported to me at Google did not send, but the 10% who did really stood out. So it doesn't take that much more to stand out. And then if you're thinking about, actually, here's a great example. So, the book it's been out for 4 weeks now. It's doing really well. We hit the New York Times bestseller list, which is just
amazing.
So exciting. So now
exciting.
I'm able to kind of be a little bit more selective about which podcasts I do. And my bar tends to be 500 Apple podcast reviews or higher, right? That's like a pretty significant podcast. Yours is obviously a lot larger. I'm super honored to be here. But that's kind of the bar so that I can be brutal, another one of the 9 traits about my time. But then yesterday, my PR firm sent me this email from a 17-year-old Julie. And it was so well written. It was so thoughtful. She's got this podcast with her sister. And that's my metric, 500 Apple podcast reviews. I go to Apple Podcasts. I search the name of her show. Guess how many reviews she had?
17.
0. Oh. Not a single review. Guess what I said to the podcast?
Yes.
It was the fastest yes I'd ever said in my life. So here you have a 17-year-old who's like probably thinking, and imagine as a 17-year-old, like probably rife with thinking, how do I stand out, right? How do I differentiate myself from everybody else? And like here she is just such a such courage, such wild courage to reach out and to ask if I'll be in her show. And it was the fastest yes I said yesterday. So, as you think about a saturated market or competition, or everybody's got the same skills, there's so many more candidates than there are jobs available, or whatever it is that is holding you back, whatever fear is holding you back, whether it's failure or uncertainty or judgment of others, when you push past that fear and just try to be a little bit better, just like this person, the 17-year-old, I said yes immediately, just simply because she had the courage to ask the question.
Mm-hmm.
Didn't take much.
It doesn't. And what you're talking about too is something that I've had in side conversations, but we've never talked about it before on the podcast. But I think it's a really important piece to bring to this conversation is those who are creative people like to work with other creative people, because when you have two people, creatives, come together who both are flexing their muscle of wild courage, because I was just telling somebody in a reading right before this, it was coming through for them, like, I got to talk to Wayne Dyer's people once, and they said every PBS special, every talk he got up and did, he was sweating bullets, and he felt so much anxiety before he would get up and do his talk. But you get these couple of creative people together, and now they're bringing their contacts behind them. They're bringing their ideas, and this beautiful, divine, creative energy starts flowing between them. And the best things come of that.
Yeah. And what I'm picking up on there is like you've got someone incredibly successful, lauded and famous, right? And here, what I took away from that was he was sweating bullets every time he got up on stage. And again, like I was talking to a friend yesterday about how, yes, I had this big goal to make the book launch successful, and it does feel like it was successful. And I said to her, I'm now terrified about how I'm going to, maintain income for my family, because I invested a lot in the book launch, energy, time, financially. And now I'm like, okay, now I have to go, especially as the breadwinner for the family, now I have to go like build a thriving speaking career and build a one-on-one coaching practice and group coaching practice and whatever it is that comes my way as part of my business strategy. And I was like, I wish I could just sit back and even more deeply enjoy the success and celebrate myself. And she's like, I don't know, Jenny, I think that fear keeps you hungry. And so it kind of reminds me of like he was sweating bullets, and I bet that sweating bullets in some ways helped fuel his performance. So it's partially finding the right balance of when do we let that fear fuel us and let that energy and enthusiasm fuel the effort, and when do we listen to what our bodies need right now and what becomes too much. Like when is sweating bullets a good thing, and when is sweating bullets a signal that we need to take a step back and reevaluate, which is also what I cover in the brutal trait, which is the power of no, and it's the courage to protect your time and energy, because people pleasing pleases no one and keeps you small. Brutality is more effective. It's far kinder. It's frankly cleaner, cut through the bull and spare everyone's time, energy, and attention. So, how can I be more brutal with how I'm spending my time right now and spend it on the things that matter most, even though I live in a lot of fear myself about like, is this the right use of time or the right activity for this hour that I have between finishing this podcast and picking up my kids from school, right? So I think there's a lot to unpack there too.
Oh, of course. And that comes up a lot in the spiritual community. So you don't know what you don't know. And I've had people come on the podcast and I've asked them questions. And, some people have said, oh, well, then you're really not surrendered. You really haven't accepted. You really haven't let things go. And I tried that on for a time, and I would be like, okay, well then what does it feel like to completely surrender and accept? And I took my feet completely off of the gas, and then you go nowhere. And Spirit was like, there's a balance. It's not 100% this way. And what I recognized in myself is that you can completely surrender. You can completely accept where you are. You can completely be in presence and have this drive, have this ambition, go forward. And I think this is something that I've told people before, but I think it's so fun. And I think you can just feel it, that some people listen to their intuition once or twice a year. Some people listen to their intuition 300 times a day.
Yeah.
And over the course of a lifetime, it's the difference between, would you rather have $160, listening twice a year, or would you rather have 3 million? Because that's what it comes out to if you're listening 100 times a day. And we do have to take action. Like, we do have to be here now.
Yeah.
Not just in kind of like the meditative state. We have to be here to help one another.
And are you more intuition 100 times a day or 300 times a day?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
I need your help getting there.
Ooh, I'd love to. Yes.
Because this is part of because Wild Courage is very action based. It's very, like I said, it was co-creation on the subway, and it's very much like these are the steps that you can take, that you have agency over. And honestly, what I need help with is how do I more deeply surrender more? How do I let go more? How do I have less control in a world that there's just so much going on, right? How do I seek to have less control is maybe the way to phrase it, in a world where so much feels out of our control and so much change, from economy to, changes in corporations to political changes, right? Like everything just feels like it's out of our control. Where do I recognize I should still have control, and that's good? And where do I recognize, I'm just waxing poetic here, Julie. Where do I recognize you should still take control over this, but also just let that other stuff go. It's hard for me to know where to lean in and where to lean out.
Yeah.
It's like you have the agency, you put the wheels in motion, you show up to the meetings, you make the connections with the right people in Hollywood, right? And you show up with your energy and with your talent and with your preparation, right? And that's what I would call obsessed, the courage to set your own standard, right? And to push, perform, persist. And then you also recognize that if it doesn't work out, that you put what you could into the equation, and then you surrender, right? Regardless of outcome.
You have to tell people what you did over at Google, because this is just so cool too. Yeah.
Well, I had a day job. So I ran an operations team that sat between sales and engineering and helped drive billions in revenue annually for the company. But then once enough people would come to me for mentorship and kind of guidance in their careers, I tapped into my wild courage again. And one day, walking out of a meeting where I was delivering some bugs to an engineering team, I thought, maybe I should scale my ideas a little bit. So I wrote down maybe 12 or 15 tips on a black and white document. And I thought, I'm going to just throw together a training, and I don't know, maybe 35 people will come, where I help people on things like leadership and influence and success within the walls of Google, right? Like what it takes to get promoted, to get a raise, to get on the big projects, to get your next job at Google. And so I thought maybe 35 people would come. 2,000 people came to that first training. And I was like, well, wait a second. I think I'm on to something. And even though I'd never worked a day in people operations or HR in my life, and we had the most amazing HR programs at Google, but this kind of supplemented it or maybe even complemented it in a different way, because it was for the business, by the business. I was like the no BS kind of vibe on here's what it really takes. Here's how internal politics that is, really work at Google, right? Here's how you get a project greenlit. Here's who you should CC. Here's who you should be CC. That level of, being planful. And so then it just took off, and it became one of the largest career programs in Google's history, with tens of thousands of people benefiting across nearly 100 countries. And then I realized while I liked my role in in operations that sat between sales and engineering, what I really, truly, deeply loved, and what was clearly my calling, and I definitely had some angels pushing me toward, was helping people to be better than they think they can be. And that's what landed me here, is because I just discovered my passion for that. And I think it was where passion meets practicality, right? There were people saying that they needed this. And so it made me realize that there was an opportunity here.
When you work with people or worked with people in there, did you find that too many people are almost just waiting for the goal, the thing to drop into their lap to come to them?
Absolutely. Whether it's a promotion or a project or a relationship. I think I had two aha moments. One was absolutely people were waiting for something to be handed to them on a silver platter, which even at Google that has the most amazing programs of support and learning and development and career, development, that even at Google, like, no, you still had to take your career by the horns and you have to be the CEO of your own career. So that was like one aha moment. The other aha moment was, by the time I started working on this book, I coached tens of thousands of people on, as I mentioned, leadership, success, and influence. And the same theme kept coming up when people felt stuck. And it brings me back to fear. It was fear. It was those same three fears: fear of failure, fear of uncertainty, and fear of judgment of others. And we're talking smart, talented, well-resourced, educated, well-networked people, like the cream of the crop at one of the most respected companies in the world. And even these people felt stuck. And just the other day, I was doing a leadership training session for about 150 leaders at another Fortune 500 company. And the same things were coming up for them. And I was so shocked. It's like, no matter whether you're 22 right out of college or you're 60 and you're in the C-suite, everybody, as people were sharing in this room, everybody is held back by these fears, and that tends to be the root.
Friend, if you've been asking for a sign, this is it. Your angels are ready to guide you into your next chapter of service, healing, and spiritual expansion. First, I want to personally invite you to our next in-person Angel Reiki School. It's June 6th through 8th, 2025 in Oak Brook, Illinois. This sacred 3-day training will certify you in mediumship, energy healing, and becoming an angel messenger yourself, while giving you the roadmap I used to build a 6-figure spiritual business. Or keep your day job and learn skills to serve and earn thousands each month on the side. If your soul has felt this calling to serve, this is your moment. Space is limited and the Angel Reiki School always sells out. To sign up, go to theangelmedium.com/get-certified. The link is in the show notes. And if you can't travel, our online version of the Angel Reiki School begins on the 1st of each month, so you can start from wherever you are right now. Next, we begin a brand new course on May 11th that your angels created just for you. It's the 21-day Money Miracles Challenge. This transformational experience is available only inside the Angel membership and will completely reset how you relate to receiving divine prosperity and the soul of money. Over 21 days, your angels will show you how you've been playing small and how to align with soul-sourced wealth and sacred overflow. These are tools and teachings that you'll use for the rest of your life. The 21-day Money Miracles Challenge is only available in the Angel membership now for $111 a month. Join for a single month or become an annual member. Start today and receive a beautiful bonus activation to supercharge your receiving energy. Go to theangelmedium.com/angel membership to begin. And if you're seeking deep clarity, healing, and confirmation, you can also book a personal reading with me, where I connect you with your angels and loved ones in heaven to bring through loving guidance and support. Book your session now at theangelmedium.com/readings. Again, it's in the show notes. Friends, I'm expecting that we're going to need over 50 volunteers to receive a free angel reading from my students during the in-person Angel Reiki School. Some will be live in the Chicagoland area. Some will be online. This is June 6th through 8th. To be considered, all you have to do is leave a 5-star positive review of this podcast. Submit a screenshot using the contact form at theangelmedium.com/content. Leave your 5-star review today, and you might be hearing from me really soon. Friends, your angels are already preparing the path ahead. All that's left is for you to say yes, yes, yes. Say yes to life. Now, back to the show. Well, and the other thing that I find from working with a lot of people in corporate America as well, doing readings for them, is that the fear, you're right, it doesn't go away, just because we're in college and now we're in our 40s or in our 60s. In fact, what I found is the more successful that people become,
the worse it gets.
It does.
Yes.
It does. Because you didn't have anything to lose in college. So when you're going after something, you don't have anything to lose. And then you get to a point you're like, well, shoot, I've got a lot to lose. Like I want to build more, but I want to keep what you've got.
Or proving yourself, right? Like feeling like you need to earn the position you've given or the responsibilities you've been given. So I have a great example. I talk about bossy, which is the courage to listen and lead, to steer others through success. And I made a huge mistake when I was first managing managers at Google. I was given this massive project to shut down a business unit in one part of the world and build it back up in the other. No small task. And I'd been at Google for 10 years, but the people on this team that I was joining who reported to me, the leaders who reported to me, had been there much longer in this particular division. So I'm trying to prove myself, like prove that they were smart to give me the job, the senior leaders who I reported to, prove that I knew what I was talking about, prove that they could trust me. And so we were having this offsite day long together, me and the leaders who reported to me, to develop the strategy. And I just like stuffed every piece of information I could into this 30 slide PowerPoint deck, or, North Star mission statement, the 3 pillars of the transition, which of these people who reported to me should lead each of the pillars. And I plug in my laptop, I excitedly start presenting, and I saw immediately the energy in the room dissipate. And I was like, what's going on here? And we have this thing at Google called psychological safety, which means it's a good thing, but it also means that you should feel free to share your mind freely to anybody who reports to you, who you report to, etc. So they felt, let's just say, very psychologically safe that day. And they were like, Jenny, why would you come in here and act like you have all the answers? You've been on this team, 3 months? We have a combined 35 years of experience on this team. And so I think, that's another example of surrender. Like, I did not surrender in that moment to trusting that they would like me for who I was. They would like me for my potential, not necessarily my experience on that team. And that it's like I was forcing them, because I was senior and because I had so much more insecurity and so much more imposter syndrome when I was named that senior leader. There was all this. If I'd been 22, like you said, I probably wouldn't have cared or wouldn't have put so much effort into it. But I was like, must prove I deserve to be here. And the more senior we get, the more experienced we get, the more I think we feel like I must prove that I deserve to be here. And I felt that tremendous pressure in that moment, and it did not serve me well. Mm-hmm. And then I had to learn, like I say in Bossy, like it's the courage to listen first and then lead. And that makes a good leader. I should have walked in that room with a bunch of Sharpies and some blank easels and said, like, what do we think this strategy should be? How do we think we should execute it? What should our communications plan be? How many pillars do we need? Who would like to lead each pillar? Just gone in and asked a bunch of what I call nosy questions. Nosy is the courage to get insatiably curious and to, let your curiosity drown out your fear and pull you toward what's most exciting to you, to use it as a compass. I wasn't nearly curious enough that day. And so I became bossy in the old sense, not the new reclaimed sense, where I was telling them what to do and not inviting in their opinions, all deeply based in insecurity as a senior leader that I don't think would have happened had I been right out of college.
If we could redefine purpose for the next generation coming in, they would have such an easier time, because we just expect it to be like a straight shot on a graph going up, 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 up. And things come up, people pass away and big events. You have to plan a wedding, you have to take care of an aging parent. You have a big surgery or whatnot. You go through these different parts and twists and turns in life where I've gotten to different moments and thought, okay, well, is God done with me? Like, did I do all I came here to do?
Sure.
When you get stuck, how do you coach people to see that there's life beyond this point, that they're going to continue growing again?
I think it's just starting with one small step, because, let's say I was coaching somebody, an executive recently, who got a negative performance review from the CEO. And we looked at it together, and this guy was just really distraught and felt like, is this the right company for me? Is this a signal that I should be leaving? How do I interpret this specific line? Like, really wanted to break down each individual piece of critical feedback. And we've all been there, right? I've been there. I've gotten harsh, quarterly feedback reviews. It's hard. It's hard to push past. And those are the moments that I say, I really question my purpose. I question why I was put on this earth. I question, do I still have what I thought I used to have? Am I losing my touch, right? Or things like that. And so I said to this client, I said, we've got to start small. And like, what's one thing you can do to push past the fear right now? And what he came up with was, well, even though my inclination is to push back on this feedback and to say like, well, no, I see it differently. This isn't the way that I think I approach this person. he's like, well, maybe what I need to do is just radically accept, right? Surrender again to this feedback. And maybe I need to double down on it and go back to my boss and send an email that says, these are the 3 things I'm taking away from this constructive part of the feedback, because it was all written out. These are the 3 things in my words that I actually do want to work on. And I was like, that is so much wild courage right there, because to take that one small step of sending that email, and he's like, and I want to do it within 24 hours before I chicken out. And to take that small step of ownership or of recognizing and saying, okay, I know that I can't solve all these things that you want me to solve in the next 12 months. What I can do at minimum is acknowledge that I'm hearing you, acknowledge that I'm listening, and send a signal that I'm taking action. And I think what people mostly want to see is you taking action. So I use this small example. Again, it's another work example. It's a leadership example, but I love that he just broke it down to one small thing he could do today. And that's the theme of how I would coach anybody who's feeling stuck or feeling like, is my work here done? What if I've been laid off, or I've, lost a relationship, or I've lost a friendship, or I've lost a loved one? What is one small step I can do right now to move forward? Maybe it's picking up the phone and, scheduling a dinner with a friend you haven't seen in a long time. Maybe you have a goal of health and it's replacing your big plates with small plates in the kitchen, right? Like, just could be anything. One tiny little step you can take that makes you just slightly ahead of where you are right now. And then each one of us has our own little sweet spot of fear. My sweet spot of those 3 is uncertainty. Like, that's why I chased that stranger off the subway. I actually had a bigger fear of uncertainty, that living with that what if thought in my head, right?
Yes.
What could have been. And by the way, there's a lot of research that suggests we regret the moves we don't make much more than the moves we do make that don't turn out great. So we regret inaction more than action. And so had I chased him off the subway and he said, sorry, I'm married, it's kind of a win-win, because it doesn't even feel like a failure to me. I'm like, I have my answer. He gets to go home to his wife and kids and be like, still got it, honey. I got hit on the subway, right? And so recognizing which of those 3 fears plagues you the most, for me, it's uncertainty. That can also help you find courage to take more action or ask for something that feels a little bit risky or a little bit outside of your comfort zone. And so for me that day, like, I would have been happier stomaching the failure than stomaching the uncertainty. And so when you know that you can live with that as your compass, which of those 3 fears, it's a great thought exercise for anyone right now. It's like, which of those 3 fears hold you back the most?
Yes.
And for a lot of people, I think it might be judgment of others.
I did this TED Talk last year, and that's what I opened with. I think it's like 92%. I don't know. It's really high. It's a really high number. % of people pass away with regrets. The biggest regret is, I think it's 82% regret not doing something because of what they worried other people would think.
Oh my gosh, I love that stat, and I might need to go find that TED Talk and
you do.
And source it properly and steal it.
Yes.
But steal that stat, because
it's
that
huge.
is exactly, I mean, think about it. How often do you not ask a partner for what you need, or a customer for what you want, or that cute person on the subway for their business card, right? Yeah. Chances are when you don't take action, it's because of one of those fears. Because you don't want to be called, like, I don't want to ask for that thing to work. I don't want to be called selfish. I don't want to be perceived as obsessed because I'm like so excited about this project I'm working on, or I don't want people to know. Like, I had such a hard time telling people I want to hit the New York Times bestseller list, because it was like, oh, that sounds a little shameless. That sounds a little like, obsessed. It sounds a little over the top, right? It's like, and so I think there were times where it did keep me small, because I felt like, well, it's not polite to say that, or it's not ladylike, or it's not, I mean, maybe that's not a great example for polite or ladylike. Those are kind of other things that as women, we stop ourselves from doing with those fears of judgment. But in my case, it was like, no, I don't know that I want to put it out there. And then once I started saying it out loud, once I started using my own, frankly, goal-setting framework, which is rock, chalk, talk, and walk. I literally wrote down my rock. I'm holding up a piece of paper to you now that I have taped to my monitor that says, rock, sell 15,000 US hardcover copies of Wild Courage by March 25th, 2025. So that was my rock. So that was my goal. Chalk was writing it down. So I had identified the goal, make it numbers based. Chalk was writing it down. Talk was then, once I got over my fear of judgment of others, fear of people thinking, oh, that's too big of a goal. That's too aggressive for a first-time author. Like, you don't deserve that, or that's not in your wheelhouse, or that's not possible or realistic. Once I got over that fear of people judging me for saying it out loud, I started telling everyone. And in as much of a manifesting way as very practical, someone could help me if I share it out loud. Someone might be like, oh, I know a company who might want to buy 500 books, right? So that was talk. I say it out loud. And then walk gets back to what I said about this coaching client. Like, what's one small step I can take right now to bring this work to the world? And in my case, it was reaching out to a lot of companies and saying, would you like to buy 100 books? And some of them said yes. So rock, chalk, talk, and walk. Goal setting in a nutshell. And I didn't sell 15,000 US hardcover, but I did sell 11,000, and I feel exceptionally proud about that.
Well, and going back to the number, what Spirit would say when I was doing that talk is flip it around. If 92% of people pass away with regrets, probably from one of those things, failure, uncertainty, or what other people will think, there's only 8% of people who are really living, who are really taking wild courage and going after what they really want. That's such a small percentage. And then, like we were saying before, then all of those people get together and they help one another.
Yes. And it also is a perfect example of all you have to do is be slightly better than the average person. You're only trying to beat out 8%, right? Like, that is a really small number to beat out. It's like the 17-year-old who was taking action. She's in the 8%, right?
Oh my God, where is she going to be when she's 22?
Can you imagine? Or 52. She's going to be crushing it, because it's the same kind of, by the way, interestingly, I was going to say it's the same kind of energy and ambition and, taking life by the horns mentality that will carry her, that will serve her well and carry her to success in life. But I think it's actually very important to share that this stuff that I teach with Wild Courage, none of it is innate. It can all be learned. It can all be learned. Introverts, extroverts, born in New York or Tampa or Tokyo or Sao Paulo, they're all these little mini steps, right? And that's really what Wild Courage is. It's the process of feeling the fear and pushing past that fear. And it's the set of tools that help you go after what you want and get it. And just like, rock, chalk, talk, walk, or the Shameless Monday email, or another tool I can talk about that helps you overcome fear, which is Truths and Tales. These are all things that can be learned with just a little bit of practice and intentionality each day. It's critically important that people don't walk away thinking, oh, you're either born with it or you're not. Because I just fundamentally believe that with the right choices and the right support and the right energy around you and the right angels, anything can happen. So two examples here. One is when I was dating my mom, I'd come back and speaking of like trying to be super planful and figure out the whole life path, I'd say, Mom, I don't know if I want to marry this guy. And she'd say, all you need to know tonight is, do you want to go on a second date with him? So that's one thing that comes to mind. And the other, because you're talking about the map, is I also have this concept called move then map. And this is out of the reckless trait. So reckless is to take intelligent risks, to err on the side of action. Because again, better to learn from your mistakes than waste time predicting the consequences of every decision. So think fast and fearless. And if you're on the fence, do it. So I was hiking in Montana with two girlfriends, and being the very planned out person that I tend to be, we were at this fork in the road and in the paths, and there was a park ranger right there. And I started tapping into my nosy trait, getting insatiably curious, but too curious. And I peppered her with a million questions, trying to optimize the perfect outcome and trying to have the whole plan, right? Rather than just enjoying this beautiful day in the woods. So I started peppering her with questions like, which path is muddier and which one has a lake view? Which one has a mountain view? Which is the out and back path and which is the loop? Which one is, where is there construction? Which one has more people? And from 50 feet ahead, my friend calls, Jenny, it's all gorgeous. Just start walking. And so, just start walking is like what you're talking about with praying, right? Where it's like, just ask one simple question every day, and you don't have to know your whole life plan. In fact, that's the whole goal of praying, is to try to take some time to be introspective and let some of these questions or answers come to you in this quiet space. And so I call that move then map, because it's like, no, I should have just been going right, left, or like my mom said, just go on the second date, just take the next step. Or like you're saying with this whole Hollywood thing, it doesn't have to be all planned out. You can just live into the answer with some guidance.
And that's where the enjoyment comes.
Oh,
because
definitely.
Like, we're not supposed to be just heads down, go, 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 nonstop. Oh my gosh, when you finally get to this point, which I can tell you're totally at, and you help people get to, of just confidence. Like, for the rest of my life, I'm going to be a creator, creating something, doing something, helping someone. You can kind of relax into the different seasons of life. You can relax into, oh my God, and is this not the most beautiful experience and journey to go on along the way?
Yes, but I still struggle. Like, hearing you say that, I'm like, it's interesting that you're saying that I'm coming across confident. I feel like I've never been less confident in my 45 years in life than literally right now, today. Yes. And yes, having achieved a lot on paper, but again, it's anytime you start something new, I find, like a new boss, a new relationship, a new friendship, a new city, a new project, a new company, a new team, that I think like imposter syndrome just starts to rear its ugly head again. And that's when I get the most deeply insecure. Like, here's a perfect example. And comparison is the thief of joy. And I still find myself comparing myself so much to this fellow author who's wonderful. And she's a friend of mine. Our books came out within a few weeks of each other. And, you know, I hit the New York Times. She didn't. She, I think, was like, that's everyone's holy grail in publishing, right? In traditional publishing, to hit the New York Times. And here I hit it. Julie, the number of times that I check Amazon and my ranking versus her ranking is unbelievable. So what a lack of confidence that is, that I'm doing that. What a lack of confidence that I'm noting her Goodreads review number versus my Goodreads review number. And it's like, I've achieved this pinnacle, what feels like the pinnacle of publishing, or like the Oscar or the Grammy of publishing. And yet I'm still finding ways to be deeply, deeply insecure. And I'm frustrated with myself. I wish I weren't doing it. I'm going to challenge you on that. Please do, because I need to be challenged.
Okay. I have a couple of different thoughts. Okay. One is it insecurity, or is it a reprogramming of the brain of how technology is wiring us?
Yes.
And it leads me into another question I was going to ask you about, but technology changes my energy when I am on my phone all day, every day. My brain gets into certain patterns, especially having ADHD. So when I was very first out of college, there was kind of like a People magazine-ish type of like online magazine. Sure. I would go on and check that. I'd go on and check the news outlet that I wanted to check. I would check my email, and then I'd get back to work. Well, I've kind of had that brain pattern throughout my life. Like, when I'm going about my day, I'm getting stuff done, I have a break, I kind of go in that order: People magazine, news, email, get back to work. What is it about the technology that is almost kind of wiring with the patterns of our brain?
Yeah, well, I think there's just so much more of it, right? Yeah. Like, I think there's just, because, you know, I just gave two examples. I would check her Amazon rankings and I check her Goodreads reviews and mine, right? But then there's also, then I check LinkedIn, like, how many comments and likes do I have on the post that, you know, my team put up today? How many, do I have any new speaking requests in my inbox? Oh no, I'm failing because it's been 45 seconds and a new one hasn't come in, right? And so I think it's just like there used to be literally People magazine and maybe a couple others, like People magazine and Cosmo and, you know, Vanity Fair, and like, that was it, right? And now it's just endless amounts of technology that we could consume, endless amounts of vanity metrics. Like, all I'm doing is looking for vanity metrics. It doesn't help that I charge my phone next to my bed and it's the first thing I do in the morning, which already puts me in a bad mood, right? It's like, if I could just take my old boss's advice, Michelle, the most brilliant thing she's ever said is, charge your phone in a different room, and it ideally should be on a different floor of your house. And I think that's some of the best advice anyone's ever given me. I didn't listen to it. I wish I had. I guess I could start, because the best time to plant a tree is 20 years ago. The second best time is today. Tonight, I could start by charging my phone on a different floor of the house, but I don't. And so I am succumbing to this really negative experience every time I wake up, which is comparing myself to somebody else. She's successful. I'm successful. We should just both enjoy it and continue to support each other because she's awesome. And yet here I am finding ways to be caught in the fear of failure, in the fear of uncertainty, and in the fear of judgment.
But if the algorithms are running that definition of success for society right now, we are becoming wired with the algorithms. And
Yes.
I'm so happy that you brought this up because it's not just you. I think it's 99.9% of people who are taking wild courage, who are building things. And, one of the things that I've really, really been wanting to have people on technology wise who can kind of dive deep into this is if you watch the show 1882, something like that. It's like the prequel to Yellowstone.
Yeah.
It's violent, but it's a very, very deeply spiritual show. And you see that back in the day, they were just worried about survival. I mean, they were really like they had 10 kids, 6 kids, and they knew that some of them weren't going to survive. Yeah. So our great, great, great grandparents' generations were just concerned with surviving. Then you have our generation, our parents' generation, where we got to work, punch the clock. We got to, have kids, have a little bit of fun, a little bit more balance. But with AI, it's possible that we're coming into a time where people have immense amount of time, immense amount of freedom and creative power behind them to live and enjoy and create. And the spiritual center behind all of those times is very, very different. And where are we going with our spirituality as we move into this next phase? I've been exactly in that spot and checking all of those algorithms too. And what I found is that I was being less productive. And it's not.
Absolutely. It's a massive productivity blocker.
Yeah, and it wasn't just about the productivity. I started thinking, now I'm serving less people. When I am in this mind spin, I'm not helping as many people. And so Spirit came in and said, change the question to how do I want to feel today? Yeah. And how do I want to serve people today, help people today? And with those two things, I find that there's an energy greater than the technology that can override it and get back to it.
Yeah, you're right. And it's not just the 12 minutes lost of checking the social media or, any vice that it might be that doesn't serve us well. It's not just the 12 minutes. It's that plus the 12 minutes I then spend in a tailspin in this fear cycle of I'm not good enough. I'm not as good as this other person. I'm not creative enough. This thing I'm about to write has been written 14,000 other times, right? Like I'm not unique enough. I'm not original enough. And so it's the 12 minutes of the time suck on the technology. And then it's the additional 12 minutes of all the second arrows that we have coming after that we like put daggers in ourselves, in this shame spiral.
Yeah. And I'll just meet you where you are. I was thinking it earlier today. I got a shower in today, which was great.
Love it.
And I was thinking in the shower, someone I love, like her podcast, but now she's got like the best quality on YouTube and mine's just not up to par and I need to get it better up to par. We can just berate ourselves and suck the life out of ourselves with these thoughts.
Yeah. And I think a really important and very practical strategy is how are you celebrating your wins, right? Because you're describing the same thing I'm describing. It's like, hit the New York Times. Why does she have more reviews than I do on Goodreads?
Yeah.
And it's like amazing, huge, successful podcast. Why isn't my YouTube following big enough? Or like, well, first, one really easy, simple tool is to just add the word yet to any gremlin statement. Any statement that starts with I can't or I don't. Taking a moment to celebrate the finish lines, to celebrate the successes is so healthy. So that you're not just like right back on the next treadmill or rat race, or it's like, okay, big podcast. Well, what about YouTube? And because there's so much out there that's always growing with technology that we will never win if we're racing against technology. And so I think that celebrating what you do have and the abundance that we have and having an abundance versus a scarcity mindset is one of the most helpful ways to live that actually drives happiness and not just competition and jealousy and regret.
Oh, absolutely. And there's so much manifestation power behind using the word yet. Oh my
Totally.
goodness. I hope every listener takes away from this that there isn't going to be a point in your life where you don't have some sort of fear of failure, uncertainty, or what other people think. It's how do you live with that and continue to have wild courage despite that, and keep going. Jenny, your book is amazing. Wild Courage, go after what you want and get it. Tell everybody where they can find you and the book, and we'll put it all in the show notes below.
Yeah, well, the book's available everywhere books are sold, in hardcover, ebook, audiobook. You can find me at itsjennywood.com, itsjennywood.com, if you want to work together for your organization or for one-on-one coaching.
Amazing. Thank you for being here, Jenny.
Thank you for having me, Julie. What a joy.
Thank you for being here, beautiful soul. I know in my heart that you're not listening to this by accident. Your angels are guiding you. And if you've been feeling the pull to go deeper, to trust and develop your gifts, to step more into your purpose, the time is now. Join me for our next in-person Angel Reiki School, June 6th through 8th, 2025 in Oak Brook, Illinois, and receive your certification in mediumship, energy healing, and angel messages all at once. This isn't just a training. It can help you create a six-figure spiritual business or earn extra income doing sacred work you love. Go to theangelmedium.com/get certified to reserve your spot before it fills. And if you can't travel, remember, our online option starts on the 1st of each month. And don't forget, starting May 11th, we're launching our newest course inside the Angel membership, the 21-day Money Miracles Challenge. This is a sacred angel-led journey where you're going to learn how to call in divine prosperity and align with soul-level financial expansion. Your angels want to show you what's possible, and this challenge is going to align you with miracles. Join now at theangelmedium.com/angel membership and receive your special bonus activation. If your soul is craving personal guidance, I have openings for one-on-one readings with me, where I bring through angel messages and loving connections from the other side. You can book your session at theangelmedium.com/readings. This could be the reading that brings you the clarity you've been looking for. And don't forget, we're giving over 50 free readings to our podcast listeners for the in-person Angel Reiki School students to work on you. All you need to do is leave a 5-star positive review of the podcast and send us a copy through the contact form, theangelmedium.com, and you might be one who wins. Before you go, your angels want you to hear this. You're not behind. You are exactly where you're meant to be, and everything is unfolding for you in divine time. Start now. Start with love. Friends, I am sending you so much love. Until next time, know your angels are always with you, guiding you and cheering you on.